Give me time to work on it. So y'all read along with me. I'm on the how to use tabs in InDesign page. That's with this. This also functions kind of as your notes because everything that's on this page is how to set the tabs, how to do it. So you're kind of doing it as you're learning it. Make sense? When you go to Moodle, you're going to download this InDesign page, and this is what it will look like. Nothing's been set up, everything's been formatted, so as far as setting bold or doing italics, you don't have to do that. The main thing we're going to do is to set the tabs for each one of these texts. What are tabs? So y'all know where the tab key is, you know what it kind of does. If I was to make a text box and I hit the tab key, it just spaces over, usually ½ inch by default, right? But you can do so much more. The default is ½ inch. Oops. So every time I hit it, tabs over ½ inch as well. I can keep typing, and the next paragraph goes down for there. Let me show you one kind of fun thing to know when working in InDesign. There are things called hidden characters, and these are characters that the computer uses to set up your type to let it know if there's a tab or there's a space or even a paragraph, but they don't print. So sometimes these are called invisible characters. To see your invisible characters, I'm going to go to I'm going to go to Type. Go down to Show Hidden Characters. Notice it's Command Option I. With that turned on, now check out my text box that I have. See the little blue things that I have? This character means it's a tab. I've literally pressed the tab key. So as long as I hit the tab, that's where one's set. You can see the little dots that are in between each little word. That's a space. So if I wanted to space out several times, a lot of people do that for setting their first line indents. That's one way of doing it. Anybody know the name of this one? In paragraph symbol. Do y'all know the specific name of it? Okay, in case you're on Jeopardy, if anybody ever asks you, this is called a pilcrow. A pilcrow simply is the character for beginning of a paragraph. Nobody uses that anymore, but it's an old English term. But that's what that is. End of a paragraph, beginning of a next paragraph. If anybody does any English editing, you use these a lot of times to signify that. But these are invisible characters. They're not going to print, but they're there just for the computer to know when you set certain spaces or change up your text. This will come in handy when working on tabs inside of here. So when I set a tab, you know when I've hit the tab key. Make sense? Because sometimes you can't just see it once it's on there. So when you download this, this is what it'll look like. First of all, give yourself your name. Change this to your name, not your name. And then you can kind of read along to see what we're going to do. Keyboard shortcut, what we need to do is open up our tabs dialog box. And this is actually a little palette that's off to itself. There is a keyboard shortcut, so if I hit Shift-Command-T, it'll open up. Here it is in the center right here. What I like to do, you can move it around, it's free-forming. I like to set it right on top of whatever box that I'm working on. If I click on the bottom right-hand side, of course I can make it bigger. Let's drag it all the way off so I can see what I'm working with. And you'll notice that there's also a ruler that's on here. That'll come in handy in just a second. So the most common thing you use tabs for is setting that first line indent. So I'm going to grab my text tool, place it inside of here, and if I needed to give that first line indent, hit tab. Nothing special about that. Here's what is special. I'm going to set tab for this second one as well, and it moves it over. Here's how to set a tab. I've opened up my tab dialog box. I'm going to select my text. This is important. First set your tabs, then you can highlight your text to change it. At the very top top left-hand corner, these are the different kinds of tab styles that you can set up. Notice the little arrow kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to be doing. So a left justified tab means everything will be aligned to the left-hand side. The center will align it centered, right will be right-hand side. That kind of makes sense? I know I'm flying by with this. So let's set a left-hand tab, left justified tab right there. I've got it selected. To set a tab, the simplest thing to do is to click anywhere along the ruler. And I'm clicking on this white space up here, not on the ruler itself, so I should have my arrow. When I click and drag, you get a line, and this will tell you where your tab will be set up. So if I know I want it to be right at 1/4 of an inch, right there, when I let go, see how the margin moves over? That's where it's going to be tabbed over to. So I can move it over to 1 inch, and now I've got an inch tab set up for that specific one. That's the basics of setting up a tab. You press tab, and you set up a tab where it's going to be at. So I'm going to set mine, let's just do this first one at, say, 1/2 inch. So there it is there. Scoot it over. Notice I did move it, so I need to move this back so I can keep it nice in line. If I keep hitting tab, however, I can add tabs onto it, and by default they're set to 1/2 inch. But check this out. The first one is set to 1/2 inch. If I was to move it over again, this one is a lot farther. See the distance between that one? It's 1 whole inch, whereas this one is 1/2 inch in between it. So I've got multiple tabs typed out, in my paragraph. I've only got 1 tab set. Here's the next fun thing you can do. I'm going to highlight it again. So I've got multiple tabs. Let's put multiple tabs up here. And as long as I click and drag, I can tell it exactly where to go. So there's one of 1/4 of an inch, one over a little bit closer. Let's put one way off to the side here. Do you see how you can place them closer together, farther apart? Very, very basic stuff. Of course, for this first one, we may not want to have so many different tabs, so I'm going to delete those away. Let's set it up for the second paragraph. How many tabs do I have set up here? Here's the next thing to pay attention. 4. Got 4 of them up there. Watch what happens when I highlight the second paragraph. How many do I have set now? None. That's the first kind of trick that I want you to be aware of. You set up tabs based on whatever paragraph that you're working on, okay? So if I'm working on this first paragraph, I've got tabs set for the first paragraph. But as soon as I select my second paragraph, if I didn't have it selected before, I've got to reset them up again. So in this case, if I wanted to set it up, say, instead of 1/2 inch, let's do it at 1/4 of an inch. That will be a lot closer right there. All cool? Am I going too quick for you? Very, very simple with this one. Here's the next thing that you can do once you set up your tabs. If I know I want it to be in a specific space, you can see I've got my X coordinate right here. Of course, if I click and drag, you can see my X will also change, or I can type in a specific number and it'll be placed right where I want to place it. The next thing is, how do I get my text to line up right along this indent? So I've gotten the number 2, and you can see I've got my paragraph that goes off to the side. I want my entire paragraph to be nice and flush along this particular edge. In other words, I don't want it to go all the way back to the edge of my margin. Here's a great keyboard shortcut. Find the backward slash key that's underneath your delete key. If you can't find it, I even drew it off on the board. It's in between the delete and the return key. Y'all see it? If I hold down Command, I'm going to place my cursor right there at the beginning. See it's blinking right there? I'm going to hold down Command, backward slash, watch my paragraph jump. Now it's being lined up right here. I've got kind of a dagger cross as the invisible character for it. So if I'm setting up my type, and I want my type to be nice in a line, nice and consistent with each other, let's do the same thing up here. Place my cursor right where it needs to be, Command, and that, and now it will line itself up right there. Pretty cool? I can even move my tab around. And you can see the placement of it will also change up as well. So if I need this one to be also 0.25, there it is right there. So I've got my 1s in one nice column, 2 in the other column by itself. Keep on typing, and as long as I'm typing, it won't go back to the very end. It'll go back to right where I set the tab. That's what the backward slash allows you to do. I'm going to throw in one more thing for you. If I hit the return key, where am I starting off now? Is it lined up or is it back at the beginning? What if I wanted to have another paragraph? Let's say I wanted to break this paragraph right here. If I just hit return, it's going to bump it over back to the beginning. Here's another trick. Instead of hitting just return, I'm going to hold down Shift and hit return. Now check out what happened. It bumped it up, not to the beginning, but still keeping that in line right here. Notice I don't even have my regular Pilcrow. I have a little, it's called a soft return character. Shift and return allows you to keep your same alignment that you had before without having to go back to the previous other alignment. That make sense? All cool? So, I've got my tabs set up top here. All I have to do is choose the type of tab that I want, and then I have to choose where I want it to be once I've got it set up. Let's keep going. Let's add on to what we're doing. The second little section deals with the 4 different kinds of tabs you can set up. Now we've been using a left alignment tab. Let's move that back into place. That one right there. This one, we're going to set up some center tabs, right alignment, and even a decimal tab. What I like to do is to kind of rough out my tabs. Rather than setting them up exactly the way they need to be, what I'm going to do is, I know if I break this up into different paragraphs, or excuse me, different columns, so this will be a left tab, everything under here will be left, there will be a center tab, a right tab, and a decimal tab. So this area, well, sorry about that, my mouse tends to jump if I go too quick. I'll click my mouse right there, hit tab once, and I've got a little space there. Let's do the same thing here. Hit tab again. It's a little bit of a space. Why is there such little space there? What do you think? Why was there more space on this one and less space on this one? That's part of it. Anybody else want to venture a guess? I'm going to do it again. Let's try it for this one. Hit tab again. Still, just a little bit of space, not as much as this one. The reason why is by default, all of your tabs will space to the closest half an inch. Okay? So this one, if I was to eyeball it, let's bring this down. You can see there's 1.5 inches, so it aligns there. There's 3 inches, so that's the closest half-inch mark right there. There's 4.5 inches. So if I was to press tab again, I bet it will go to 5, to 5.5, so on and so forth. But I don't want to do that. Let's do the same thing for the rest of them. So this will be a left tab. This will be a right tab. And then we're going to line up everything along these right here, add a tab to that one. Notice that they're all aligning to that first or closest half an inch. But I've got to press a tab first. Always left, tab, center, and right. Have I lost anybody? All we're doing is tab it up. Now comes the magic. Like I said, we're going to select everything that we're working with. Once I have it set up, now we set the tab that we want it to be. So a left tab, I've got it aligned right here. I want everything to be left aligned on this particular area. So I'm going to click, I don't give you any specific spacing, but I'm going to give it 1/4 of an inch right there. Hey, wait a minute, I set up a tab, how come this didn't shift over? What do you think?
There wasn't a tab there?
Bingo, there wasn't a tab behind there. You have to have a tab in order for it to be set up. So let me go back in. Add a tab, now it's starting to line itself up right there. I've got tabs for everything else, but I don't have one for that first one. Let's highlight it again. Now let's set it up. So this is a left align tab. Like I said, it will align itself as long as I'm clicking and holding right there. The next one is going to be a center tab. So I'm going to grab this one. Let's deselect first. Actually, I'm going to click and drag. Let's drag one over. I've still got it selected. You can see with it selected, if I was to click again, now it'll change everything to be center alignment. This time it's going to center everything up once it's on your page. Let's drag it off a little bit more. Oop. Keep going. Pull it down. Notice now this column is starting to center itself up. Let's add another tab. This time it's going to be right. I know I'm going to need it over here. I've got it selected. Let's choose right align. Now everything is tabbed off to the right. Coming together. Pretty cool. And of course I can move these around if they need a little bit more space between those two. The final one is called a decimal alignment. And that's what this very last one is over here. So let's add one more to the very end. I've got it selected, and then we're going to choose this one, align to decimal. And by default, it's going to look at the little point, little decimal point. This is great if you've got a variety of numbers and you want those numbers to be all aligned along the decimal point. I can move that in, and no matter what the point is, I can always get it to align on that number, or excuse me, on that little decimal point. Make sense? If you wanted it to be a different number, check this out. So I've got this one selected. Notice the align on that's in our tabs menu. Right now I've got a little point selected. If I wanted to choose another number, so for instance, if I wanted to line on the 2, you can type 2 in, align on. When I hit return, now you can see if there's a 2 in there, it's going to line up along that one. Of course, there's no 2 in the 4 or the 6. But check out the rest of them. 2, 2, 2, whatever comes up. So if you wanted to line a specific thing, it just happens to be that the decimal point is the most common alignment for that one. And then we space it out for that. The biggest challenge is making sure that you have, first of all, a tab to work with, and then once you've placed out all your tabs, then you've got the correct tab that you want to place inside of here. If I was to add any more tabs, say I accidentally added an extra one here, of course it's going to pick up on that one. Here's how to delete a tab. Simply click on it and drag it off, and then it's gone from there. All cool? All right. Let's do another one. Fill characters. This is another common thing that graphic designers have to do. So if you've ever read a book that has any chapters on it, usually you've got the introduction or whatever chapters on one side, a string of dots, and then whatever page number is on the other one. Or in this case, we've got a variety of names. So for this one, I want to add a right-aligned character over here at the very far end of my page. Doesn't have to be at the exact end. I'll just keep it right there. Got a right-aligned for that one. So if I was to set my tab, when I click tab, notice now shoots it all the way over to the other side. Click tab, tab, and then finally tab right there. If I wanted my eye to follow from one side of the page to the next one, this is what's called a leader. So if the string of dots that connects from one side to another side of a tab is the leader. Here's where we have your leader in your top part of your tabs dialog box. I'm going to hit period. If I hit return, you can see now a string of periods will be typed in there. Anything that you type in the leader can become a leader. If I want it to be a dash, string of dashes. I want it to be, I don't know, Q's, string of Q's. Make sense? That's what a leader does. It leads your eye from one side to the other. Of course, the most common is usually a period. Here's another fun thing. You can do an underscore, hold down shift and a dash, and that'll give you an underline that'll follow from one side to the other side as well. But for this one, we're going to keep it just as periods. All cool for that one? Setting up the tabs once you got the tabs all set. The final one, this is kind of a just a practice of everything that you've learned. If you're ever typing out an outline, of course you've got Roman numerals 1, and then the second subhead would be A, and then the third subhead would be B, or not B, regular Arabic numerals 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So we're going to set this up. If I have 1, I'm going to tab it over 1 space, right? If I have a subhead, I don't just need to go over 1 space, I need 2 spaces. Same way for a under subhead there. Not just 1 space, not just 2, not just 3. All cool? If I wanted my subhead, now this is a whole paragraph. How do I get my paragraph to align to that? Backslash key, exactly. Hold down Command, backslash, and now everything will align to that. If everything is tabbed over too far, let's highlight it. I apologize for the scrolling. Got it highlighted. This is where I can set up some tabs. Usually every 1/4 of an inch is what we want. So there's one at 1/2 inch, I could even give it a whole inch for over there. Once my tabs are all set up, then I can go back and I can keep typing and just tab over exactly where I want it to be. I know I went really, really fast through that, but I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. Here's the main thing to remember. Once you type out all of your text, then go back in and set your tabs. So you'll have it all set out. Highlight your text. Open up your tab dialog box, Shift-Command-T. And from your tab dialog box, here's where you select the tab you want and then click on the tab area to set your tab. What are we going to do with this? Here's our project for today. Question? I saw a hand, sorry. This is what we're going to make up. You've got a pizza menu with different areas that need to be set up. Do y'all see the tabs now? See how these are nice and aligned? Which tabs do you think would be appropriate for that? Center alignment, very good. Do y'all see the leaders? Easy tabs set up for the dot alignments, tabs set up down here. I'll work a couple of these through with you. I won't waste your time about setting up the document because you already know how to place a picture inside. We went over how to create your own colors and place colors inside of it, and y'all know how to add italics and retype different things from here. Instead, let's set up the tabs for this first couple of ones that we're working on. I will give you a hint. Make sure each thing is in its own little type box inside of it. So special orders has its own type box. Bread size has its own type box. This has its own type box. Make sense? That way you can easily do this one. Let's look at the instructions for the second handout that I gave you, making the pizza menu. First step, make your new document. Second step, add your picture, make your little rectangle frame, insert the background, all of that's good. Then you're making your colors. Once you've got everything typed out, let's go ahead and format what we have. Now this first one's going to be pretty easy. Actually, we don't have to set a tab for this one. What alignment should it be? Huh? Left alignment? What? Center alignment. What should it be? Yeah. So we can set our left alignment right here. That one's pretty easy. As far as the bread, the sauce, and everything else, let's highlight this one. If you'll look there, I'm giving you how to set your left justified tabs. Do you'll see the little dropout menu on your handout that I have? First one should be 0.25 inches, 1.25. So I'm going to open up my dialog box, or my tab box. I've got my left justified selected. So what's my first one? 0.25. Hit return. So I've got tab set up there. Let's set up another one. I'm going to click again, make a tab, and then let's set it. Next one's 1.125, so that's set up over there. Let's make another one. 375. One more. 2.25. And the final one is 2.5. See if I can eyeball that one. Right there, 2.5. Notice, I've got my tabs set up. Why didn't they pop over? Because I have it pressed tab. So once I've got it typed out, I can hit size, size types over, bread goes to there, sauce jumps over to its area. Same way for each one of these now. I've got them selected. Well, actually, I don't have to select them. Tab over. Should that be aligned right there? No, actually it should be, looks like I'm off by one. Did I miss one? 125? Hey, I do have it there. Uh-oh, Mr. Ivy is messed up on one. Let's add one more to here. Y'all make a note on this one. There should be one at 0.375. I'm so sorry about that. But under the size, now it should be set up to that one.
What was it?
0.375, 0.375. Tab over, shouldn't be under bread, should be under that size as well. Once you got everything set up, it should be the same. Now notice I didn't get it on that one, so let's go ahead and put it right there. Cool. Tab, tab, tab everything into place. Actually, that should be right there. There we go. Just that easy. Let's turn off invisibles. Hide hidden characters. And that's what that looks like from there. One more. Let's do the last one. Type. Show my hidden characters. So at the very bottom, I've got special instructions, and I want a series of lines that I can type out. Remember I showed you about the leader? How you can draw several lines? So if I was to make a leader for this one, I know I need a tab, so let's make it a right align tab. We'll put it at the very end. With it still selected, choose, I'm going to do underscore. Now, all I've got to do is hit tab. It automatically draws a line, right? Because I've got it set out. Just as easy as that. Same way for these down here. Y'all pointed out quite well. I've got them selected. I've already got my tabs actually set up, so all I have to do is to tab them into place. And for whatever reason, it's not. Ha ha ha. There's one right there. There's one. And there's one. Tab. Green peppers. There's my onions. There's the sausage. Now they're coming into place. That one didn't move over too much. Black olives, Italian sausage, bacon. This is making me hungry. Tabs over from there. The main thing is, type out what you want, set your tabs, and actually press tab and put everything into place for that one. For this one, just be aware there's two different colors. And for this one down at the bottom, be aware there's a little bit of a space once it's finished up. Any questions on the project? If you don't get to it, totally fine. We're going to work on it next class period as well. I will make you aware of one thing. When we save this, once it's all done, this is the way it should look on my screen. So notice everything's nice and aligned, good alignment for everything. At the very bottom, this is the way it should look once it's saved. And when we go to File, you'll make another PDF. We did that last time. Go through the process of, I think, saving it as a high quality print for this one. Here's what the PDF will save as. Check out the very bottom of this one. For whatever reason, and I've done this several semesters, it always messes up there at the very bottom. If it does for yours, totally fine. I don't know why it's doing it for that one. But when it makes the PDF, it will do that. If it does it for yours, I will not count off for it. Everything else, I'm just looking for the basic alignment for the things that you've created. All cool? I'll turn your computer back over to you and let y'all get started. Stop.
So we have to do the how to use